Hello and welcome all of you to this issue of Science Magazine.
It's a pleasure welcoming Sudeep Ambare, Chief Executive Officer, ARAI-AMTIF, ARAI, Advanced Mobility Transformation and Innovation Foundation. Welcome to the program. Describe yourself in the entire net, if I may call it, of ARAI-AMTIF. Some of us may know about the Automotive Research Association of India, but tell us more about AMTIF and how the both entities are connected.
First of all, thank you so much for having us here. It's an honor to be here. So, I'm Sudeep Ambare. I represent ARAI-AMTIF, which stands for ARAI, Advanced Mobility Transformation and Innovation Foundation. ARAI-AMTIF is a Section 8 company promoted by the Automotive Research Association of India, which is one of the autonomous bodies under Ministry of Heavy Industries, primarily working towards R&D, testing, homologation and certification of the automotive vehicles in India.
The moment one comes across ARAI, one's mind veers towards, at least my mind is at the moment, towards vehicle safety. As a common man, I'm trying to understand. Now, are you connected? Is AMTIF connected with that as well?
The role of AMTIF is more of an ecosystem enabler in the mobility and allied sectors. We support the conceptualization to commercialization of the innovations which are developed in our nation.
Innovations pertaining to?
So when we talk about innovations, there are two aspects to it. The domain that they belong to. So it could be, for example, in electric vehicle technology, charging infrastructure, hydrogen technology. The domain of the technology could be different, but the cycle in which we support these technologies. Let us start with the basic TRL evaluation, technology readiness levels, understanding the market readiness levels, the regulatory readiness levels. So these three factors, along with the core concept of the startup, the innovation by itself, will place that startup at a certain level of growth stages. It could be an early stage startup. It could have a minimum viable product. It could have a proof of concept. So our role is to identify the gaps in the market with the help of a benchmarking study, to identify the right fit of these innovations to solve that particular gap or that problem statement, and then finally develop this technology or service to make sure that this serves as the right fit solution for that particular gap in the ecosystem. Now, to do this, there are various ways, but if I were to take you through the step-by-step procedure, is to first do a complete background evaluation of the innovators. That includes their technical know-how, their knowledge about the finance aspect, because they'll be raising investments as they go forward, and finally the go-to-market strategy for each of these innovations.
So had I been an entrepreneur or a management graduate myself, I would have understood your words in better terms. But as a commoner, I dream of having my own startup, and possibly I have the wherewithal to do something about it. So at what stage do I approach you? Or you approach me? How does it happen?
The beauty of the operational model of ARAI-AMTIF is that it is a more dynamic system compared to the other ones. We proactively reach out to innovators, innovation challenges, or a call for application in domain specific or sector wise. Alternatively, we also encourage startups to come to us with either a solution to a specific problem that they have addressed, and this could be as early as a concept level startup which does not even have a proof of concept or a prototype. So ideally, the way we project it is we support ideate to innovate to integrate, which is the last stage where we finally put these solutions into place. So that's the ideal journey that we support end to end.
Sudeep, I also read with certain curiosity. Your card mentions care of forging industry division. Are you connected with the entire process and technology of forging as well?
So ARAI-AMTIF is based in Pune, and the premise we are in also hosts the forging industry division. If I were to put forging as a process-based domain, we have startups working in those verticals as well.
Okay.
Let me put it this way rather. We have startups in the technology focus areas, we have them in the service-based focus areas, and also across mobility-based domains. But it does not stop there. We also take startups into our wings which come from the manufacturing-based domains. So they could be optimizing one cycle or one particular technology that is linked with manufacturing also.
Sudeep, now if one were to actually academically focus on your area of activity, can you name some of the key programs that you and your organizations have been into till now?
Primarily, we run 3 levels of programs, which are more of graduation-based programs based on the level of the startups. The very first one being the incubation program, which is primarily directed towards early stage startups.
Somebody like me, for example.
perhaps, coming from a very layman terms, someone with a basic knowledge about the solution or the innovation that they carry.
And does it have to be an engineer?
Not really. We have members coming from various backgrounds. Some per se don't even carry an engineering background, but they have the curiosity. I think India, we take pride of the word jugaad. So they are strong at jugaad rather than the engineering concept. And we're very happy to work with them. So that's the first layer that we offer in terms of our support programs called the incubation program. As we migrate to the next level, we have the innovation program, which is for the mid-stage startups. So someone with probably concept and a prototype along with it, a proof of concept or an MVP perhaps, a minimum viable product. So that's the mid-range. Finally, as we move towards the more mature startups or the innovators, we have something which we call an acceleration program. So that is to accelerate the product across the development stages and finally take them into a market-ready or a launch-ready product.
So you have a lot of interaction with industry as well for that.
ARAI-AMTIF as a facilitation, cell, if you were to call it that, provides access to the giants, which is a term which we have coined. So government entities, industry partners, academic and research institutions, notable investors, we have technology partners and startups. So essentially, the entire ecosystem fraternity comes together in collaboration with ARAI-AMTIF to provide the linkage that any innovator might possibly need across their stages of growth.
Sudeep, in your long experience with this particular field, you must have come across, you must have interacted with a lot of sectors per se. Can you name a few notable ones where your and AMTIF's contribution has been very visible?
We actually take a lot of pride in saying that AMTIF is mobilizing the ecosystem. Now, when I talk about the ecosystem, it starts at the very grassroots levels, or let's say at the very fundamental levels. So when I talk about mobility as a sector, it starts with, let's say, power generation or storage in the form of batteries, cells. And then as we move up the levels, it could go all the way up to the aviation sector or space tech sector. So that's the expanse that ARAI-AMTIF supports the innovators.
So even railways could be...
Yes. Any form of mobility or any segment that contributes to the mobility sector is a part of ARI's scope of work. But AMTIF is actually enabling innovations in that domain by helping them to first realize that yes, the need exists, because that is a true sense of the problem statement, and then to help them build solutions onto that particular sector. Now, taking this forward in terms of the notable ones that you asked about, so we have innovators which are now making battery packs, cells from sodium ion based technologies. Because today, if I get it right, India has a dependency for lithium ion because it has to come from abroad. The limited reserves that are also now found in India. But primarily the goal is to cut the dependency on lithium ion and move towards sodium ion because it is derived from salt, which we have in abundance too.
At what level has sodium reached now?
So sodium ion technology for the startup that we are supporting is now undergoing testing and the certification cycles. It is stable, but we'll have to give it time to put it into application. So we have tested it on an e-bike, which is like an electric cycle. And we've also tried an application in drone. So as we move across the layers, there is a very strong possibility that this will come into commercial applications, into two-wheelers, into four-wheelers. Similarly, we have innovators which are also working in advanced mobility solutions such as Hyperloop. Now, that's a very interesting concept. I understand we are yet to reach that level, but it's only if you actually plan today, get the solutions, get the requirements right, that the integration part, which is where we would like to focus, will come into realization some years from now. So that's why ARAI-AMTIF works on three key words: innovate, incubate, and finally integrate. So those are the three key words for ARAI-AMTIF.
Okay. Sudeep, a few sectors such as the power sector, electric mobility, marine sector, railway sector, aviation, even during present times, of course, the space sector is doing rather well. Now, out of these, railways comes as an odd sector out. I mean, to the common man, railways as a sector is pretty straitjacket. They run on two tracks. Speed is something that one can, maybe safety. But what else? Where is the scope for more innovation in a sector like railways?
The way we see it is the Ministry of Railways has also now put forward innovation challenge. They have released problem statements. They're asking innovators to come with innovative solutions for those. Now, this translates into various forms. It could be in the form of material sciences. gas, because the materials need to be now sustainable. It should be less prone to, let's say, fire. So there are various segments even in material sciences. Another translation would be into safety, like you said, because Kavach, it's extensively now used. So we are looking at the personal safety also. Operational safety, yes, but even for the operators could be one. We are looking at data and telemetry solutions, which have data loggers, which could record data coming to look at if it ensure the maintenance aspect, because some of these technologies were earlier having solutions coming from abroad. Could we develop parallels in India? Because Make in India is also one of the initiatives which I think big units like ICF are integrating. So it could be in the form of robotic solutions to improve productivity in the production houses. So railways as a sector is a big sector. It could even translate into as simple as the materials which go into the packaging of the food materials which are served in the trains, because that waste management is also of a big concern.
If you analyze the last 5 years of the entire startup ecosystem in India, do you see a very crystal clear trajectory that it has taken in terms of enriching itself along the way? What it was 5 years ago and what it is now?
I truly believe that the startup ecosystem has evolved way more dynamically, both horizontally in terms of domain-wise integration and vertically, probably if I were to measure it in terms of the investments and the growth cycles. One reason is because, of course, the know-how of it, of how a startup should operate, what are the prerequisites for a startup to even be qualified as a startup, has been passed on quite well thanks to the initiatives of the government, even to the extent that a startup to be realized as a startup or recognized, the DPIIT certificate has also been instrumental in bringing a recognition of value for an innovator to proudly say, yes, I am a startup. And going forward over the last 5 years, the quantum of funds that have been provided to the innovators, because a concept is good, but unless it is backed up by the right set of investments, the right set of collaborative opportunities, and more importantly, perhaps if I can talk about ARAI-AMTIF also in this regard, the exposure and access to the R&D labs and the infrastructure that exists with the government inventory is the biggest boom that I feel was earlier perhaps lacking. So yes, it has gone up significantly, but the growth, I think it's still, yet to peak, because there's so much more that we could do. And the Honorable Prime Minister has just been reinforcing that time and time again, because we do see potential. When the G20 summit happened, Startup 20 was here. That was also a truly global platform to put forward the innovators of India onto a global and an international map. So I really believe that in the last 5 years, the growth has been significant, but the true realization of India's startup ecosystem will happen in the coming 5 years. That is where perhaps more than now the results will translate, because even from the IPR perspective, the patents, we've had the highest number of patents coming, and this awareness, this know-how, this access, the entire requirement of a startup is now being looked into more than ever.
Sudeep, as we come to the concluding part of our program, just one question. Have you ever met an angel investor? I've always been curious to know, didn't know who to ask. How different is an angel investor from a selfish investor? An angel investor, gives me pictures of very, good-looking, genuine person. Is it actually so?
Truth be told, an angel investor for a startup is a savior where perhaps others wouldn't invest. They add the critical component of investment, which helps them not just to survive, but to scale up in a very crude format. But yes, we work extensively with angel investors, with VC firms, investment partners like banks, to support the investments of the innovators, of the startups. Because in addition to the government grants and the instruments that various policies provide, we truly feel that the scale up cannot be complete without strategic investments coming from the right investors. So it's more of a hand-holding support. So at ARAI-AMTIF, we are happy to have the support of 4 ministries to fund the initial requirements of the startups, but it is also supplemented by strategic partnerships with VC firms, banking partners, which will add that component of fund when it is truly required.
Sudeep Ambare, Chief Executive Officer, ARAI, Advanced Mobility Transformation and Innovation Foundation. Thank you very much for coming over to Akashvani, despite your busy schedule, as we understand, must be in Delhi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Narrated by Manoj Mainkar and presented by Dilip Jha, this broadcast came to you from the Indraprastha channel of Akashvani Delhi.